Hello and welcome to Tolve Closes. I'm Amanda Tolve, a residential realtor in North Jersey. More specifically, I cover the counties of Bergen, Essex, Passaic, some of Morris, and some of Hudson. But whatever I don't cover, I have excellent referrals to help you. So my job is to help either if you're searching for a home, help you find the specific home at the specific price that meets your needs. And if you're selling your home, help you sell your home in the time frame and at the specific price that you require. So today I wanted to go over this crazy market. I'm sure everyone hears a lot about what's going on in this market. And I want to just help inform buyers and sellers of what they're getting into in this current market. So the current market is a seller's market. So we're going to be focusing on the sellers. Now, what that means in basic terms is that there are way more buyers than there are homes available to buy. So the inventory is super low. And because the inventory is low, it's harder for buyers to find something. But sellers have a lot of advantages, and we're going to go over those in a second. But it's not just the single family homes, it's also the multifamily homes and it's not just investors coming in, it's people who are buying the homes to live in and invest in. We're seeing a lot of that now because the consumers are getting smarter and they're wanting to get more for their money, especially because the market is so aggressive. They want something they can live in and also make an income with. So we're seeing single families and multifamilies for sale. And there's just a lot of buyers out there. So the first advantage that I wanted to go over is that the sellers are able to sell their home very quickly. So you no longer have to worry, like, is my house going to sit on the market for 6 months to a year? It's not. If you have a move-in ready home, again, like I said, if it's single family or multifamily, if it's move-in ready and it's, priced right, you could lose it in hours, not lose it, I should say. You could sell it in hours because people are just waiting for things to hit the market. Realistically, it's probably going to be a couple days before you sell it, or sometimes a week, but it's that fast. So the sellers no longer have to worry and wait. They're going to have an opportunity to sell their house very quickly. And if you think about it, the reason this is happening is because a house that's for sale, you have maybe 30, 40 offers that are coming in on that house. And that seller can only accept one of those offers. So now the other 29, 39 people have to move on to that next house. So when that next house goes up, boom, all the other offers come in. So it's just a continuation of that, tons and tons of offers. So sellers really have an advantage with selling their home quickly because you've got motivated buyers out there trying to buy that home. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk to, that leads me to the next thing, which is the getting more for what your house is worth. So the competition out there is so intense. that people are willing to pay, buyers are willing to overpay for the homes. The sellers are listing them at a certain price. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's say the seller lists the house at 700,000. The buyers are coming in instantly at 750,000 because they know that the market is aggressive and there's a bunch of other people out there making offers. Another thing I wanted to talk about was a little bit about the appraisals. Again, I can go into detail about appraisals, but you guys can contact me separately for that because it's a lot of detail explaining whatever you want to call it. So I'll talk to you about that on the side. For now, we'll just say that the appraisal is basically the value of the home as far as what the bank determines. So the bank determines the value of the home with an appraisal. Now, the buyers are paying more than what the appraisal is. So if the appraisal comes back at, again, we'll use the $700,000 price. So if the home was listed for $700,000 and the appraisal comes back at $650,000, the buyers are saying, okay, you know what? Here's 50 grand. I want this house that bad, and I'm going to overpay 50 grand for this house. That's what we're seeing, a lot of that. And we're also seeing a lot of people completely waiving the appraisal. And that means that no matter what the appraisal comes back at, they're willing to overpay for the price. So if you offer $900,000 on a house and it comes back at $600,000, you have to come up with that $300,000 to pay down on that house. So that's more of a risky option for buyers, but also for sellers because you don't know that they have that money. But we are seeing it because the market is so aggressive. Now, before it was like this, before it was a seller's market, if the house didn't appraise, there was more room to negotiate. The seller, maybe if the house appraised if you offered 700 and it appraised for 650, maybe they'll meet you in the middle at 675 or something like that. Now it's so aggressive that they could be like, well, I have 20 other offers, so let me go pick one of those because maybe they can come up with the money. So again, that's an advantage for the seller, not so much the buyer. But if the buyer has money and they're able to do that, they are doing that just so that they can get the home that they want. Now, the next advantage of being a seller in this market is that you get to choose from multiple offers. So this means that you'll hear this a lot, highest and best. So the amount, again, you're getting 40 offers in, you get to choose the highest and best. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the offer that is the most amount of money, because that's not necessarily the best offer to accept. You have to look at a lot of other things. Did they send the pre-approval letter? Did they send proof of funds? How much are they putting down on the house? So those are things you got to take into consideration because those are the type of things, and again, I can go over with you separately, but those are the type of things that make an offer strong. You can't just be the highest number because if they offer, 200,000 over and they don't have those funds, then the deal could fall apart once you're into the mortgage commitment process, and that's wasting everyone's time. So you really have to know that the buyer coming in has the finances to be able to pay for what they're offering. Now, they also have the option of choosing an offer to close quickly. So maybe, before this whole market craze happened for the sellers, you had to choose whatever offer was there and you negotiated. And if it says 45 days, then you got to close in 45 days. That's it, because you only had the, 2 or 3 offers. But now they can choose to whatever their needs are. So the sellers are really getting to pick what they need here. So if they need a quick closing because they're, moving to Florida next week, they can pick the cash buyer who's, got the most, or maybe not, doesn't have the most amount, but they're a cash buyer and they'll be able to close in a couple days. Or they can, if they have maybe 30 days, maybe they'll pick a mortgage company, someone who's using a mortgage company because they have the more time and that price was a little bit higher. So there's a lot of things that come into play when you're picking which offer. And some of this might sound confusing to you, but again, I can go over this with you guys separately. But yes, they can choose whatever they need for their time, or maybe they need to they need to sell their home, but it's contingent upon them buying a home. So now they're not looking for someone who wants to close quickly and who's going to push them. They're looking for someone who says, You know, I need a 60-day closing, or like I'm open to waiting however long you want me to wait to buy your house. So now they have the option to choose that, when at, you know, before it was a seller's market, they wouldn't have had that option. So it's definitely an advantage to sellers to be able to pick which time frame they want to move when they're looking through these offers. Another advantage for sellers, I can't read all that. Another advantage for sellers is that they're able to hold one or maybe even none open houses. So with COVID and everything, this, you know, is a benefit for the sellers, because they don't have to have all these people coming in and out of their houses if they don't want to, because they're going to still get enough offers, even if they do one day, you know, one day or a specific time. And this can get tough when you're on the buying end, because a lot of these sellers pick very specific times, you know, like Thursday from 1 to 4, and that's it. That's their only showing. So that limits them, you know, on who's going to come see it. You know, maybe not, they won't get as many qualified buyers, but they're still going to get a good amount of people, because people are out there and aggressive and qualified buyers looking for homes. So they do also have the option, of course, of having an open house, which they do. And if you have been to an open house recently, you will know that the lines are very long, and it's a long process. But if a solid offer comes in before that, you can avoid all of that. If it's an offer that you like, that again depends on the seller. They get to choose. If an offer comes in that they're satisfied with, don't have to have the open house. If not, and they want to get all those extra offers in, they can have the open house. But again, with COVID, it's definitely an advantage for sellers, because they can pick and choose, you know, how many people they want in their house, or what days they want them in their house, if they're living there. Now, we've gone over the seller's advantages, which of course it's a seller's market, so there's more advantages for them, but that doesn't mean that the buyers are totally at a disadvantage. That's my dog. So anyway, the buyers still have an advantage with the interest rates. So the interest rates are still pretty low right now. They're in the 3s. I've seen a couple in the 2s, but I think those were locked in. So, you know, they have the advantage of getting that lower interest rate, so they have to pay less interest, obviously, and their payments are going to be lower. So depending on how you figure out the numbers, which we work with Ricky, who is our lender. You'll see him in a few minutes. He can go over all of that stuff with you, but you can really benefit, the buyers can benefit from that low interest rate as well. So even though it's a seller's market, the buyers on that part, and that's why you see so many of them still actively out there, because they know that the interest rate is super low and they will have a good mortgage payment and a good mortgage. So that's where the, you know, I guess the unbalance is, you could say. So, if you want to discuss any of this in further detail, let me just go over a little recap of the ways that it's a seller's market. So first, the inventory is low, which means there's not enough homes and there's way too many buyers. And the second thing is that the sellers will be able to, the advantage is that the sellers will be able to sell their homes quickly, a lot quicker than they have before. The next one is getting more than what their house is worth, according to the appraisal. And the next one is they get to choose from multiple offers, whatever fits their needs best, whether they want to sell fastly or slowly. And then, of course, I touched on the buyers very little bit, but the interest rate is where they have the advantage. So if you want to discuss this in more detail, you know, and go over, maybe you're looking to list your home and you want to go over these benefits, these great advantages that you have right now as a seller. Or if you need to figure out a plan, you can give me a call directly and we can go over in detail the ways to do it and help you get the most money for your property and get what you need. So I want to open it up now and see if anyone has questions. I did get a question from Ricky here. When looking at pre-approvals and offers. Oh, Yeah, I touched on this a little bit. So he asked, when you're looking at pre-approvals and offers, what are you and the sellers inclined more to take into consideration? So with this, is I touched a little bit about on this, but so you're really looking at to make sure that that client is qualified. You want to make sure that, like I said, because the deal could fall apart later on once you get to the mortgage commitment part. So you're looking to make sure, and a lot of them, I hate to say it, but if you're shopping FHA, it's very hard to get an offer accepted unless you have someone on the other end who fully understands FHA loan and how they work. So it's not totally impossible. It's just difficult unless you have somebody on the other end who understands that just because it's an FHA doesn't mean it's not going to close. You know, and if it's on a house that follows those guidelines and restrictions and it's a move-in ready, nice home, you'll probably be fine with the FHA. But a lot of times it looks better to the seller and especially the sellers themselves, not so much the agents. It looks better to have a bigger down payment. So if you're coming with $100,000 down, if you're coming with, 35% down, they're more inclined to pick those people because they know that you're financially secure. And then if you send proof of funds, you got your bank statement included, so we know that you have that actual money. That's really what they're looking for. They're looking for something that they know that's solid, that's going to close.
Yes, that's what I was looking for. Thank you, Amanda. Because obviously I do a lot of FHA loans, and for the buyers out there, I wanted some clarification. Wanted you to explain, if you had your pick of FHA, or the seller had the pick of an FHA versus a conventional, which one would you be more inclined to? Now, obviously, I can't. You blocked it. Sorry. The which one would you be more inclined to go with? Would you be more inclined to go with the conventional loan offering asking price and a 20% down payment, or are you going to go with an FHA loan that's offering maybe 15,000 and a 3.5 or 5% down payment? That's what's more appeasing to the buyer.
Right.
Now, question: are you running into any of these with VA loans? Because as you know, as a veteran, you have special privileges with the loan itself. One of them being a 0% down payment. You can have 100% financing. So, are you running into any problems, or have you run into any problems with the seller not choosing a VA loan because the seller's financing 100% of the mortgage of the loan itself?
I haven't personally come across too many VA loans. I have seen them out there though. So they are closing, but I don't see that one as much of an issue because you have to be qualified. And a lot of times too, it helps if the lender like yourself puts in a phone call and says, hey, this is my buyer, they are qualified and they guarantee it, But with the VA loan, I think that's a little more promising than the FHA. And maybe that's just the way it sounds to me and other people, but I feel like that's a more solid loan than the FHA. And also with the FHA, it's because what if it doesn't appraise, and even though they offered more, then you have to know that those people have that money. If they couldn't afford the down payment, the veterans doesn't necessarily mean they couldn't afford the down payment. They just get that privilege because they served our country.
Right. And that's one of the benefits for doing the loan and serving the country. You get special privileges with these loans. Now,
Exactly.
the FHA also leads to a different appraisal. Am I not? Am I not correct in saying that there's a different appraisal process for an FHA than there is a conventional loan?
Well, there's not a different appraisal process. They're appraised the same. The process that's different is when they're going out there, it can't be a home that needs improvements, or you can make the improvements, if you want, but a seller's going to be like, I'm not going to waste my time, having them come and, fix the windows and do all this just so they can get the loan. And that maybe in the, a year and a half ago, but now they're like, well, I'll just choose another one, so it's a little bit different. But as far as the actual appraised value, from what I understand, no, what they appraised, it is what it is. It's just that they're looking for different things. So they're looking to see if the steps are broken or if there's no railing. That's why I say on an FHA, I mean, if it's like a brand new home, yeah, sure, take an FHA, because there's nothing really that can go wrong, especially if you already talked to the lender and you know that the finances are set up right. But if it's a house that needs a lot of work, you might run into some issues. Mhm.
Copy that. It's good information. Everything that you had talked about, I thought was spot on. So, um, actually, just so you know, obviously, when with respects to the interest rate, it will depend on your FICO score. But for purchases right now, I am in the very high twos for purchases
Nice.
on five, six, $700,000 homes. Depending on 720, 740 or higher FICO score. Anything lower, you're probably going to be in the average of threes. But that's where our market is today for 30-year loans. And if you are doing 15-year loans, you're going to be looking in the 2.5% range. So just a heads up on that for anybody that's shopping. And if you haven't um, utilized Amanda's services, she is very responsive. She knows her stuff. She's been doing this a while. So she's my go-to girl in Jersey. So if you are looking for anybody, please reach out to her. And Amanda, how can we reach out to you if we want to utilize or use your services?
You can call or text me directly at 201-456-1842, or you can email me at amanda@tolvecloses.com.
I had a question for you, Amanda,
Okay.
about this market, because it's been a concern that I've just been hearing, and that is how people are paying more than the house is worth. How is that going to affect the market in the future? What do you think? Do you think that's going to have an effect on the market in the future? Because
I change my mind every day about that. Sometimes I think the market's going to crash. Sometimes I think, well, maybe because this is happening, the values of the homes are going to keep going up. Because now when the appraisers are going out and they're running comps on what was sold in the area, everything's sold higher. So now, is everything going to keep rising? But how much more could it rise? So, I mean, that's where, where I'm at, but.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because it's like, how much more of are people paying average? What do you think, just based on what you're seeing, about how much more are people paying on the value of a house?
It depends on the home price. Like if you're looking in the, 400 or 500s, it's probably 20 to 50,000 over. If you're looking at the $1 million, it's probably 100,000 or more over. So it depends on, the price range, but yeah, you're not getting anything for like 10 grand over. But there are situations where I've had two that came out, they got the house for what it appraised for. And that took a lot of negotiating, obviously, but the agent on the other end was also very smart about it. Like they knew that the house was going to appraise for this amount. And they're like, well, no, the client too, they were comfortable with getting what the house is worth. So a lot of these other clients, the only reason they're listing their home is to get more. So you have to really understand what the client wants and what they're doing it for. These other people, they're doing it because they want to move and they want to get a good price for their home. And that's why. But other people are doing it straight just because the reason they want to get more money and get out and then buy themselves a new home. So.
Right. And so you basically, because it's almost like a game that everybody's playing, just based on time, eventually the value of the house will catch up to what people are paying right now.
That's the idea. And with the amount of buyers out there, I mean, these people are still going to need homes. So they're still coming here. And a lot of people from New York are coming this way. And what they're coming from, they used to pay a lot more. So this is a good value to them as well. So that's another factor. But yeah, I mean, hopefully what happens is these values keep going up for all of the homes, but then it's kind of scary because at some point, are all these homes going to be 500,000 and above?
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's what I say. What if the market crashes? Because then these people can't afford the houses anymore. No, it's crazy. But we can't predict the future that much, but at least we know what could happen.
Right. What now? This is another question. Maybe Ricky can jump in on this one. There's another question that I've been asked are the interest rates? Everybody's kind of like anticipating I've heard two trains of thought, right? One is foreclosures are going to happen everywhere.
Yeah.
And houses are going, you're going to get a house cheap, 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 right? And a few more months. So people are anticipating foreclosures. And then I'm hearing the wind of interest rates. Interest rates are going to go flying through the roof. And you're going to be paying higher interest rate on homes because of how the market is right now. Which one of those would you be leaning more towards, if any?
That's a Ricky question.
So I'll take that one for now. So it's the law of physics. What goes up must go down, and what goes down must always come back up. So, when this is going to happen, if it's going to happen, we don't know. Nobody knows, because if I had the crystal ball, if Amanda had a crystal ball, we would be looking into this, and be able to tell you an exact date. Obviously, I wouldn't be working in real estate. I'd be playing lotto and gambling on sports and stuff, and retiring early, and be a millionaire. Gray Sports Almanac for all those Back to the Future fans. But here's the thing: we thought this was going to happen when the last time we were kind of scared when these rates were going to spike was with the release of the vaccine. Now, now that these companies, Johnson, Pfizer, Moderna, have come out with the vaccines, the market is still holding steady. In fact, I've seen a little bit of improvement over the past month or so, compared to 2 months ago. So, we don't know. We might see a little spike for summer sales, maybe fall sales, maybe it'll go down the fall and the winter again. But that's just there's really honestly no telling what this can do. I can tell you, unfortunately, in the real estate business, um, you know, pandemics, natural disasters, war, stuff like that, pretty much anything bad that you can think of is actually good for the real estate market. They want people to continue buying houses. They're going to sell their bonds, the mortgage-backed securities, and you're going to get lower interest rates. So, but if it's in a perfect world, as everything was great, we would probably be seeing a significant spike in interest rates. Maybe not by much, but maybe it'll go up to the 3.5%, 4% range again. Unfortunately, like I said, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know. I did want to say something about the appraisals though, because I remember back in now the appraisals and the sale, the what people are shelling out for these homes, $50,000, $100,000 more than asking price. It's going
Right.
on all over the place, man.
Mhm.
Um, it's based on trend data. So the comparables that these appraisers are doing is based on a trend data. Back in June, July, August of last year, the trend data had not caught up with the numbers and the sales of these homes and what
Mm.
they're going for and what people are bidding on and shelling out this money. So we saw a lot of appraisal disputes and second appraisals,
Ah,
um, and people were disputing the price. Unfortunately, the trend data had not caught up, so the appraisers unfortunately didn't have the comparables to back up, the argument, so to speak. Amanda, are you still seeing appraisal disputes in today's market with everything going on?
Not so much. Definitely not as far as, and I totally forgot about disputes actually because there haven't been any, but I do remember now that, you'd go with your little appraisals and talk to the guy, whatever. But no, not so much now because, it is what it is. I mean, I run comps myself before everything anyway, so I pretty much know what it should be coming in at. And so far it's been pretty accurate. But again, it doesn't matter. Not that it doesn't matter, but they'll still pay over. They don't, which is not, I mean, if you need a house, what are you going to do? You have to. So,
I mean, and that's the value of having a knowledgeable realtor, right?
right.
Because if you have a realtor that's just like, I think this is how it works, and they're just kind of like going based on just their instinct. A lot of things could go wrong at the end of the day
Exactly.
with all of this. So that's where knowledge comes in, and of course working with the right lender. But I think this is a great segment, Amanda, and and I always look forward to hearing what you have to say as well. Thanks for jumping in, Ricky.
You're welcome, Amanda. Good job. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Amanda. And coming up next, we're going to have Whitney Colbrin, and she's going to be coming on. She's be our love coach for the Phoenix National Business Group, and so we look forward to hearing her as well. So stay tuned, especially if you're looking for that special someone.
It's going to be a good one. I know what her topic is. It is going to be good, folks.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. So we will definitely see you guys then. Thanks again, and take care, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.